Hey guys, welcome back to another one of these daily vlogs, day number 13 in the schedule so far, and this one of course coming a little bit late today as I figured I'm probably going to shift them towards around this post time. We'll see how it goes because of course, as you may have noticed if you follow me on Twitter, which if you don't, go do that now, then you'll see that I'm going to be hosting for WePlay Pushka League, so I'll have to be watching those games every day because I want to keep up to date, as well as make sure that, I'm able to post at a more consistent time considering days when I'll be hosting. I probably won't get it done in the morning, so I'll post videos at night. By the way, speaking of hosting, got a haircut. Look at that. WePlay set us up with a barber. Came to our apartments, done our hair for us. Now they know where we live. We might have to eliminate them. But speaking of eliminated, some people are getting blasted off pretty hard actually for this first day. As today we saw the sides of who did we have? We had Cyber Legacy and Empire Hope face off, where Cyber Legacy, maybe to a lot of people's upset or surprise, did get fouled pretty quickly. Empire took them 2-0, and I wonder how much of that was on the skill basis as much as the draft, because I feel like it would be fair to say that those two teams compared right now, Cyber Legacy should in theory be stronger, but from what we saw, looking back at the drafts, there was definitely some questionable elements. Cyber Legacy, I think they maybe had a little bit more flexibility in game one on the way they ran their draft. They could have ran the Ember as a core and then had the Weaver as a support potentially. That might have opened up another window, another avenue, but that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is around the fact that Lycan got let through in game one, which enabled a heavy push lineup for Underlord as well. And then through both games, they allowed the side of Empire to get their hands on Tusk, not once, but twice. Tusk right now, by the way, reason that's such a big deal, just fits the meta a little bit too well. I think he's the most easily slotted hero into the draft for the 4 role. Like, if you want to actually give away what your 4 is, which for how valuable Tusk is, you do that, it fits almost any draft quite easily. Whether you're running a tri-lane, 2-1-2 lanes, it has that flexibility. Later on, it has the ability to push out lanes if you really need an extra person doing that via snowball, talent, plus shots. So all in all, I think looking back at that, Cyber Legacy might be kicking themselves a little bit about certain things that got let through in the draft and other things which got prioritized by them. Especially when you see lineups that require a Spirit Vessel counter and you don't give yourself the easiest way to have that counter. You force a hero to staple itself into that role so it has no flexibility elsewhere. And on the other side, the second game we did have, the second series rather, we had OG.seed versus the side of Chicken Fighters. This was a lot more decisive, and I think a lot of people were quite surprised by this. 2-0 victory in the favor of OG.seed. OG.seed honestly played pretty damn well. They execute well. They're actually shown they can grow as a team. They're getting better and better, I think, every time we see them. But the biggest surprise is maybe how Chicken Fighters just got kind of ran over. I think maybe that's a reliance on some heroes that are maybe becoming outdated and don't maybe fit the meta as easily unless you counter something specifically such as Naga. But I think the big issue is there's too much data. Chicken Fighters, for those that don't know, really done well at ESL 1 LA majors online. And the problem with how well they done is people got plenty of time to see them, research them. They're in the limelight, so people knew what to expect from them, and that works against you because then you maybe see the underbelly issues. You know that, for example, Charlie is maybe a carrier that likes to farm and then link up with his team later, so you prioritize pushing him harder. You might find these cracks in your draft are exposed more easily because you were visible for everyone to see. While OG.seed, of course, a little bit more chill, a little bit less recent data on them. And then speaking of that recent data, I guess maybe we look forward to tomorrow. Let's have a look at how we're gonna open up the day, which is gonna be VP Prodigy versus Cyber Tractor. I'll be with you guys to go through these two series the whole day. But was Virtus Pro versus Cyber Tractor, I think it would be fair to say Prodigy are the favorites here. You have to keep in mind that when you just look at the heroes on paper, Cyber Tractor don't really have any known names. Maybe people from high-level pub games, but not much competitive experience to list, I'd say. Whereas in Prodigy's case, you've got the potential Prodigy kid that was meant to be, right? The next Ramses that didn't come to be, which was Epileptic Kid, who was on the main Virtus Pro squad before he was now dropped down into their Prodigy squad, which is that's a cool name. You got these small potential upcoming players. Although I feel like the big one is definitely Epileptic Kid, and the team is to an extent being built around him. And the thing that's going to be interesting to me to see in that series is whether Epileptic Kid has just continued to evolve his playstyle and his hero pool. I think one of the big issues when he came to Virtus Pro is we saw them having to play around him pretty heavily and his playstyle. And his playstyle was what I'd call typical pub star mentality, where, or at least at the moment, where you learn how to play Illusion Heroes really well and you expect the game to be 9 versus 1. And that's why you play Illusion Heroes, because they're the type of heroes that can get to that stage in the game where they're like, I don't need a team, I'm a PL, watch me kill everyone, right? And it is that kind of mentality that comes from playing pub games and not having team experience, is that you don't feel you can rely on the people fighting alongside you. They're seen as a liability that you have limited to no control over. One of the big things to look at when it comes to shaping Epileptic Kid as he grows, or as I like to call him, epilepticled, is whether Save will be an authoritative presence. Because I noticed that Save is actually going to be captain, which he's a capable player. He's proven himself a pretty decent for. I'm kind of surprised they didn't actually have maybe Yume as the captain, as I know Yume's been playing competitively for a little bit longer. Maybe not, had as much overwhelming success as Save was, seen as this amazing for switching between teams recently. But maybe he would have that little bit more veteran and aged perspective that might help a little bit more. Because I think what you need for a person like Epileptic Kid is you need an authoritative presence. And I don't know enough about Save personally to know whether that's the type of player he is in the game and in a team. But I definitely think that's what's going to help shape him. That was where the potential was when he was in the primary scope of Solo. Solo is that type of person that can mold these prodigies, as we've seen with the likes of Ramses, right? And how his game just proved time and time again as he with VP for longer. And then, of course, you've got DM, who, in my opinion, DM is one of these very, very flexible players. I've talked to 1 or 2 people who were involved with the teams that he was on before. The thing that DM's really good at doing is slotting into whatever the team requires. I'm quite interested to see how he's actually going to progress as this goes on, because he did have a short stint with Chaos Esports Club in a lone role. Looked very promising. A lot of people started to have eyes on him and want to see more of him. It's going to be interesting to see how he meshes with that team. And then, of course, at the moment, they've got FN as a stand-in. I don't know if that's going to be permanent, but FN, of course, doesn't really need any introduction. Has been around for a long time. It's going to be interesting to see how the team dynamic works there, because it's not just about taking good or bad players. It's about how they interact with each other. And this is like a cocktail you just thrown together for the first time. The only experimentation you have is, I think, Epileptic Kid and Save played together for a little bit. I can't remember any others that team playing together recently. But that's enough about CIS. Let's round this out by talking about the second series today. It's going to be Viking versus Aggressive Mode. This is going to be another one of those ones that people are going to be looking at and going, that should be 2-0 in favor of basically insert chicken fighters comparison here. Maybe that's an unfair comparison, because I'd say OG.seed maybe have looked stronger than Aggressive Mode recently. But from the point that Viking are seen as pretty strong right now, you got to remember these guys just 2-0 secret in the ESL LA Major Online. But they might actually suffer from the exact same thing that Chicken Fighters just, I think, suffered from, which wasn't just their opponents playing really well. It was the fact that there's so much data out there recently and there's just so many eyes on them, between the fatigue of playing that many games and maybe like the morale being down from losing in the end, which I don't think you have to be, especially as Viking. You should be really excited about how well you've done, because no one had those type of expectations. But the data that's available to you might work against you. I'm going to be interested to see if Immortal Faith is really helpful in iterating the way that Viking plays a little bit more, maybe making what they're doing a little less obvious to their opponents. But on the other side, you then got Aggressive Mode, right? The Aggressive Mode, who I believe are currently, I believe they've currently got, is it Cube? Yeah, I think it's Cube on a temporary position in the team. It's not permanent. I'd be interested to see if that does develop over time into something a little bit more permanent. I think Cube is quite familiar, and they are quite familiar with him on the side of Viking, back and forth in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a little bit of denial back and forth, if they have a little bit of an inside loop on each other. And other than that, obviously you've got the likes of Skylark on the team. Aggressive Mode, I don't think I've seen play too much recently. So once again, it might be a wild card situation where one team has too much showing, the other is too much of a roll of the dice. And that might give us a little bit of spice, especially in that second series tomorrow. I think both those series are going to be interesting, because I'm looking forward to seeing if we get the underdog situation, where this team that seems like an underdog but it's just because we have no info on them at all. They're not proven. Could come out and cause some major upsets. That's going to be it for this video. If you like what you're seeing, make sure you subscribe down below so that you'll be able to see the upcoming videos, because there are going to be more of these come out daily. And make sure you like the video and share it around. I'll get another one of these up probably around the same time tomorrow, maybe a little bit later, where we'll recap tomorrow's games and see how it compared to what we thought initially going into the day. All right, well, that's going to be it for now. I need to get some sleep and get ready to be on that power tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you there.